Welcome back to TEW Impact. We are at week 1 of May. We are just coming off of Rebellion, going into Under Siege. So we have news. Just gonna go into it. Numbers, BTI TV rating, point 0.1 as always, or point 0.01 as always. BTI overall rating was a 26, down from 29 the previous week. Impact TV rating was a 0.25, down from 0.26. Impact's overall rating was a 36, down from 42. Last week's show was kind of a downer. Um, didn't go as well as I would hoped, but let's hope this week goes better. But attendance did go up a little bit. 343 up from 337, so we got a few people back. Um, I just wanted to put this in here because I know after last week's episode, we got our requirement was at least we need to have at least 3 storylines to be over 35 heat to be considered hot, and they dropped. So that will probably affect things or our show quality or whatever. But I just wanted to put where we are at on our current storylines right now. Our Josh Alexander as world champion is a 47, which I'm kind of surprised considering it's really only been Josh versus Jonathan Gresham carrying that from this point. Um, and that program is over, but I have basically carrying this as long as Josh is world champion. So I'm kind of surprised it's the top one, especially considering the tag team title scene is at a 43. That was pretty much our highest one, even when it was just the Wolves versus the Good Brothers. And then we added the Motor City Machine Guns to that. So, um, with those 3 teams, I would imagine that storyline continuing to get good numbers. They're pretty much consistently the ones that bring in like our highest ratings of every almost every show. Um, and then this is where the threshold is for to be considered hot. The Diana versus Rosemary versus Taya one is at 35, but it needs to be over. So it's on the direct borderline of being hot. Hopefully that'll pick back up. Swerve's road to X Division champ um, is at a 32, which is pretty new. So hopefully that'll continue to improve. One I did not expect to be as high as it is the before the Impact Women's Division, which is basically building up Quinn McKay and Rachel and Roxy, and including Madison, Rain, and uh, Brandy Lauren. Forgot her name for a second. Uh, and then I also included Tasha Steele's group, but I might remove it from this storyline as events later on tonight will show. But I was surprised to have that at 32 already. Morrissey versus something was hot, but it dropped all the way down to 28. So I guess Morrissey's promo last week kind of did some damage to that. Um, Ace Austin versus Swingers Palace is at a 23. Um, yeah, I guess it's kind of expected to be as low as it is, considering a lot of it has happened on, or a decent amount has happened on before the impact. Uh, Joe Doring versus Eric Young's at a 21, but that pretty much just started, and then also Maria buying out Impact is at an unknown status because that has also just started. But yeah, so we have one storyline on the exact threshold of being hot. So if we can get Diana versus Rosemary versus Taya back up, we would meet our 3 storyline requirement. Again, Swerves is close. The women's division, uh, the lower card women's division is close somehow. And then Morrissey and something was at a hot spot. Hopefully we can get there again, but it dropped quite a bit. So we'll see how things fare in the next couple weeks. Impact news. We are at a month changeover, so we have actual, you know, financial news. We did make a profit last month, which is good. 63,576. I don't know offhand what last month's was, but I believe it was more. I want to say last month's was like 50 something thousand. So we're still making money and we're slightly making more money than we did last month. So that's good news. Basically we've seen increases in everything but merch sales and ticket sales. Merch sales was only a slight drop, but our ticket sales are where we're taking our biggest hits because of our regional battle placements, and we keep losing attendance. And overall, our ticket sales are down almost 50% from what they were in January. So, um, a bit of an update on that. We did finish number 3 out of 5 in our Southeast regional battle. So, good news, we did not come in last. We came in third behind NXT and MLW, but ahead of Shine and NWA. I think we were only like 1 or 2 points above Shine, and then another 1 or 2 above NWA, and then I think MLW. The space between us and them is at least 5, if not higher. Uh, Maybe between 5 and 10 more points. So we kind of got a ways to go if we want to get higher. I don't see us beating NXT. um, but the good news is that we aren't last. The bad news is that attendance will still be reduced. It'll only be reduced 5% next month. So I assume uh, placing last reduces it by 10%, which we've seen the last couple months, and why our ticket sales are down. But third, I was kind of hoping didn't uh have a attendance hit, but has a 5% hit. So I assume if we ever make it to number 2, maybe attendance would not be reduced, and then if we ever finish first, maybe that would be a bonus, but I don't exactly know how it works. I'm just guessing. But yeah, so we're still gonna take a hit with attendance, but hopefully not as much. And we have seen slight improvements every once in a while, so maybe we'll, get some of those people back. But yeah, overall our attendance is down. We really need more people to buy tickets. Uh Steve Macklin wanted a pay raise. He was originally at $80 per appearance, and he wanted 140. We just accepted it. Um, Someone we use fairly regularly, so figured it was at least kind of warranted. In other news, Deanna Pratzos developed a loyalty relationship with Conan. So she's still the AAA Reina de Reinas champion, and she does defend that title on AAA shows that, when she's not booked on Impact, she usually shows up at random AAA shows and defends that title. So hopefully, like, Conan doesn't like sign her out from underneath us. I'm pretty sure we don't where we have a relationship where they won't do that, but don't quote me on that. I would have to look that up to make sure. But we have a fairly healthy relationship with AAA, so I hope that doesn't happen. Homicide extended his handshake deal with MLW, so he's still working over there as well with us. And then Heath Slater's body type, um, well, technically he's Heath, not Heath Slater anymore, but his body type has changed from average to toned. So, um, I guess he's looking to get back on TV. We haven't really used him lately, but stay tuned. We may be using him more often. So, we'll see. WWE NXT news. Was apparently they got hit by the injury bug and hit pretty good. Fastlane took place last weekend. I did not get the results because nothing of importance really happened other than injuries, so I just listed the injuries here. Sasha Banks suffered a sprained ACL at Fastlane, only out for a few weeks. Matt Riddle suffered a strained pectoral muscle at the pay per view. Will only take a week to heal and is not expected to miss any time. Um, Shanky suffered a torn tricep on SmackDown on Friday before Fastlane, and he'll be out for 3 months. Solo Sikoa suffered a partial Achilles tendon tear in the NXT Dark match, the NXT after Fastlane. And he will be out for a few months. And then Charlie Dempsey has extended his contract with NXT UK, so he's staying. And did not get injured, but yeah, Sasha Banks, Matt Riddle, Shanky, and Solo Sikoa all suffering injuries within. Was SmackDown was Friday, Fastlane was Sunday, and then NXT was Wednesday, so less than a week. Um, American news overall. AEW Sunny Kiss has left AEW. Their contract was just not renewed. It just ran out and there was no renewal. So they're gone from AEW. Trent has recovered from injury. And then they increased their production values to Majestic. I assume that's probably the highest level. I can't imagine what the level above Majestic would be. So yeah, they are investing money back into themselves. Um, Something I wanted to mention. I mentioned this last week where their Blood and Guts pay per view. We technically beat them head to head. In attendance, at least in attendance, because they ran out of their typical area and only drew like 200. Um, their tour every once in a while, like I guess I don't know what their touring is like, but I saw like it was last week's Dynamite. They came back to like 2,000, and then this week's Dynamite they were in I think the Great Lakes region again, and they drew like 500. So apparently they're making enough money to bump up their production values and run head to head with WWE on that level. But well, I don't even know what WWE's production values are, so maybe they're even better. But uh yeah, just something I wanted to mention. I thought that was funny. GCW, they upgraded their product broadcast quality to in-house. And then AIW, uh, Matt Cardona has finally lost his other belt. He lost the Intense Championship to Brian Carson a week or two ago. And this week he lost his absolute title to Eddie Kingston. So Eddie Kingston is now the absolute champion for AIW. Japan news. New Japan, Kota Ibushi won the Never Openweight Championship that was vacated when Satoshi Kojima retired by defeating Sanada. It is Kota's second reign with this title. And then signed Masayuki Kono to exclusive written deal. Um, I am not familiar with who this is, and when I looked them up, I didn't look like they were working anywhere. I just thought it was odd that the game actually signed Japanese talent instead of random American talent like they have been for the past few months. So good on them. All Japan. Kento Miyahara, All Japan also suffering the injury bug. Kento Miyahara suffered a broken tailbone, out a few weeks to heal, not expected to miss time, which doesn't, I don't know, doesn't really sound like a good way to heal a broken tailbone, but still, what do I know? I'm not a doctor. And then Shugi suffered a partial Achilles tendon tear and will be out for a few months. For Noah, M's alliance with Masakatsu Funaki and Masaaki Mochizuki won the Global Tag League for this year, defeating Los Perros del Mal de Japón, Kotaro Suzuki and Aita in the finals. Reminder that Funaki announced his retirement in March. So if it's a 3-month announcement, they Funaki will retire in June next month. So I guess this is kind of like his farewell tour and going out winning a big tournament. Joshi news. I was going to put this all in Japan news, but we had a lot of Japan news in general, so Joshi gets their own page this time. Ice Ribbon. Hiroyo Matsumoto won the Triangle Ribbon Championship by defeating Maika Ozaki and Rina Shingaki. And then they hired Starlight Kid on a handshake deal. And then Stardom extended a handshake deal with AZM, and Tokyo Joshi Pro hired you on a handshake deal. So there's some talent moving around in the Joshi scene. I think this is when I either looked up Starlight Kid or you. They were working both Ice Ribbon and or they were at least working multiple promotions, which I know from what little I know of Joshi, they're fairly territorial. So I don't know if this is like sacrilege. What would happen if this happened in real life? So I don't know if lines are being crossed with these, but I just thought it was worth pointing out that talent is being used elsewhere and kind of shuffling around. International news. AAA extended their handshake deal with Andrade El Idolo, who is also working AEW. So, at least I don't think he was on loan. Like I know a couple weeks ago I mentioned their loan deals have expired, but Andrade El Idolo is working both. And then WXW Alpha Female won the women's championship by defeating Ivo Kolaski. Retirements. We got slammed with retirements this week. Um, like I think this is a small selection of who actually announced their retirements. Jun Akiyama, Masahiro Chono, Vampiro, Al Snow, El Hijo del Santo, Adam Flash, Spike Dudley, Vanessa Craven, and Easy Money have all announced that they will be leaving. Official Chigusa Nagayo, El Canek, Congo Kong, Tyrone Evans, aka Michael Tarver from the Nexus, Annie Social, Gama Singh, uh, and Stevie Ray of Harlem Heat. And then something I put as leaving the business in 1 month, even though they're both technically retiring as well, but they're in 1 month instead of 3, and not really in-ring figures. Nick Khan and Johnny Fabulous, aka John Cena's dad, are both leaving the business. Something interesting about Nick Khan, when I looked him up in game, he wasn't even set as an employee of WWE. He must have like just been added to the data and then not applied. So uh Nick Khan's takeover of WWE, if you will, over the course of 2022 did not even happen in our parallel universe. So there's really no big loss if he's leaving the business, considering he technically hasn't done anything here. So whatever. But still thought was worth mentioning. And then James Ellsworth has gotten married, hopefully to someone of age. Um, BTI results. We had Commander defeating Yasutaka Yano. Um, did I use Yasutaka Yano last week? Yeah. Yano, our newest recruit, our excursion young boy from Noah, but defeated by one of our AAA excursions commander. We have an angle where Ace Austin is backstage, kind of mourning his blinding at the hands of James Mitchell and Johnny Swinger in the casino match. He's not. I wouldn't say he's like fully blind, but still he is wearing sunglasses at night in dark rooms. So, but Singh and Shera come up to him and basically want to prove their worth to him, letting him down in that casino match and causing a loss. And Austin is basically like, yeah, I kind of had a feeling you would come crawling back. So if you guys want to prove your worth to me, you're gonna have to defeat a team at the pre-show of Under Siege, and that team ends up being Heath Slater and Rhino. So we have Heath Slater and Rhino versus Raj Singh and Mahabali Shera for the pre-show, and then we get a promo from the Steels crew. Last week, Janai Kai defeated Masha Slamovich, and then they basically ganged up 3-on-1 and attacked Masha after that match, and they're basically gloating and talking about strength and numbers. And then later, we get a promo from Masson Rain and Brandy Lauren, and they're kind of talking about how they've noticed, like, apparently there's a rash of girl gangs going on right now, and everyone is traveling in packs of threes. Like Tasha Steeles has her crew, and then Quinn McKay has her backup, and it's just Madison Rain and Brandy Lauren here. Well, no longer, because Madison Rain reached out, and she's going to bring in a third person to her crew, and they challenge Quinn McKay, Rachel Ellering, and Roxy to a 6-woman tag at the pre-show of Under Siege. Brandy Lauren is in the dark. She wants to know. Masson Rain whispers in her ear and is enough for Brandy to get excited and run off screaming, screaming in joy. Um, Madison just kind of like, well, I didn't think it was that big a deal, but we'll find out who that third woman is at Under Siege. And then we got Mance Warner defeating Diener in a no disqualification match. Which got a decent number, but I know I booked this as a no disqualification match. I can't remember if I don't think it was like a mayhem or whatever, but still, for whatever reason, Diener got like a 15 in performance, so he's not really suited out for these wild brawls that I kind of have him gimmicked up as, and definitely as Mance Warner uh, gimmicked up as. He's basically like a wild brawler, defeating Diener at, supposedly his own game. But that was basically the point of Diener anyway, was to bring in someone for Mance Warner to beat. Overall rating of 29. I did not use um Eric Stevens and Nikki Rocks as road agents for this show to hopefully get a slightly better rating, and not have any, little dings against us. So we'll see how that works out in the future if that happens. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. Let's just go into Impact. All right, we start off with a match made from last week. Former tag team partners, now, you know, former tag team partners, current friends, but that seems to be in peril as well as Rich Swann versus Willie Mack. Um, Played it somewhat straight. In the end, Willie Mack defeated Rich Swann. Um, as you can see, potential future heel turn for Rich Swann was hinted at, so I guess we have to start doing that now, and I can't, we have to telegraph our heel turns and if we want them to succeed. So, there we go. Rich Swann might turn heel. Let's point that out so we ruin the surprise when it actually happens. But yeah, they luckily they have great chemistry. And then yeah, overall rating of 42. Like I said, Willie Mack wins clean. Rich is basically not taking it well. We get a promo from Eric Young, and he is basically he is out in the parking lot, and he is waiting on Joe Doring to appear, and he's like screaming out in the night air, where are you, Joe? Where are you? You said you would come last week, and you're not here. Where are you at? Where are you at? And then he reveals that if he does not come tonight, he will be at Under Siege, and they can finally settle things man to man there. I put this here because I fucked up. I thought Joe Doring was available for this episode of Impact, but it's not. He's not. He is wrestling in All Japan tonight. So, I lied. He said he would be here and he's not, so we're basically um stretching things out and stretching things out until Under Siege. Segment rating of 34 for that. And then we go backstage and we are in the locker room of the Learning Tree, and Brian Myers, well, basically everyone's happy. Which has been rare in the history of the Learning Tree. Normally, someone's after someone's back, but they're all happy. Brian Myers is like, for the first time, I'm proud of all of you. You guys had Raven kidnap you, attempt to bring you over to brainwash you into his flock, and you guys showed that you weren't having it, and you basically showed that my training has done so well that, you know, we are unstoppable. Our bond is unbreakable. And I'm basically, it's like, I'm proud of you guys, and I just want to, congratulate you all and say, you guys made it. You guys have made me proud. And that gets a segment rating of 26. While they're talking, they are nearby a monitor which suddenly flicks on and shows Raven. Raven is in a undisclosed location, dark, shrouded in mystery, and he cuts in Raven's promo of old, and he's like, I admit it. You might be right, Brian. I might be getting, slow in my old age, but congratulations to your guys. They held out for my indoctrination. They wouldn't join the flock, but maybe the fact of the matter is they were weak. Maybe they were too weak to join my flock. Um, and then you talk about me being an old man and you want the Raven of old. Well, maybe you'll get it. So I challenge you and your learning tree to a Ravens Clockwork Orange House of Fun match at Under Siege. And if you wonder who my My flock is going to be, don't worry about it. You'll find out in due time. All I need to do is snap my fingers, make a phone call, and I can get somebody who wants to learn underneath my wing and fly with the Ravens flock. um, and quote the Raven nevermore, and the monitor shuts off by itself, and the learning tree is just kind of standing there scared shitless a little bit. So that gets a segment rating of 34. And, we let Raven do his thing. So, you know, that did well. We get a match with Shane Swerve Strickland versus Black Taurus. Somewhat of a warm up match for his X Division title shot at Under Siege. Black Taurus with Matthew Raywalt at ringside. Um, that proved to be his undoing as Matthew Raywalt's interference backfires, leaving Black Taurus open for a quick roll up and a 1-2-3. And Shane Swerve Strickland really need to. I'll just rename him to Swerve. I don't even know if he goes by Shane anymore. I think he just goes by Swerve Strickland. But yeah, Swerve wins. Uh, Momentum gained on his way to Under Siege with a segment rating of 42. But the hype does not last long, as after the match, Steve Macklin slides in with his X Division title, hits Swerve in the back of the head, lays him out, and basically lays the boots to him while Black Taurus and Matthew Raywalt watch on, um, setting up the match at Under Siege. Segment rating of 40. The storyline has gained heat, so maybe this will become a hot storyline and put us back in the good graces of at least having 3 hot storylines running. We got a promo for Mance Warner being interviewed by Gia Miller. This was kind of one to fill some time and two to at least show Mance Warner at least have some sort of impact presence after being on Before the Impact the last couple weeks. Basically, he's just talks about how he's here to fight and he took down Diener in a no disqualification match on Before the Impact and is willing to fight with whoever wants to step up. So that's about the gist of it. Segment 23, low, but Mance is new to us, so probably not going to get a ton of hype. I wonder if Gia Miller's like performances on these knock it down any. Gia was penalized for a poor gimmick, so I don't know what her gimmick is. We might need to go change that. I'll have to remind myself to do that. But yeah, Gia is basically our roving reporter after Quinn McKay has gone to in-ring work, so I don't know what her gimmick is, so we might change that. Jordan Grace versus Savannah Evans of the Steels Crew. This was also originally booked to fill up some time, but I might work with this. This gives Jordan something to do after losing the uh, Digital Media Championship. This puts Tasha and her crew on Impact, not so much in For the Impact and that program there. So this might be something we run with, but basically Jordan Grace defeated the Savannah Evans after some botched interference by Janai Kai. Basically, Kai comes in for a kick, Grace ducks, kick hits Evans instead, Grace takes advantage, pin, probably not so much by submission with a bear hug, but segment rating of 39, Grace gets the win. But after the match, Tasha, who's been at ringside for the whole match, uh, runs in the ring, attacks Grace from behind, and basically we get a 3-on-1 beatdown. Tasha, Savannah, and Janai beating down Jordan Grace. Segment rating of 20. Not a great number, but if we just do decide to run with this on the main show, hopefully we can get some better numbers. These, I do have tentative plans. Maybe they'll work, maybe they won't. And then we go backstage and we get the Knockouts champ and the Reign of Dorenas champ and the Ring of Honor champ, or Women's champ, but we don't really mention that anymore. Deonna Pratto hanging out with her BFF and the digital media champion Chelsea Green. Much like last week, just kind of they're bragging about how they're top champions in Impact, they're best friends, and they defeated Valkyrie and Rosemary last week, so they're on a high. They get interrupted by Tennille Dashwood, and Deonna and Chelsea is like, Tennille is just kind of mocking them, but she's really, you can tell that she's just kind of mad that her temporary partnership with Deonna did not work, did not result in her getting any sort of future title shots. And Deonna points that out, and she's like, "Oh, you're just mad that you're not getting any more title shots." And Tennille throws it back, and she's like, "Well, I bet my girls, the inspiration, can defeat you two." And Deonna and Chelsea's like, "Oh, well, if they could, then where are they?" And we're kind of getting the gimmick that wrestling is kind of beneath them, despite them being championship title holders, and they're off doing like photo shoots and digital and social media stuff instead of actually showing up to work. And Tunia's like, "Oh, well, I'll call them and they'll be here. But how about I call them for Under Siege? And how about you two, you two holding the belts, Diana and Chelsea, defeat or take on my champions, my friends, the inspiration at Under Siege." And that gets a rating of 29. But as she says that, Gail Kim comes up and she's like, "Oh, hold on. Tennille, who gave you the power to book matches around here in Impact? It's bad enough that Maria is trying to take over Impact and wants to run Impact as she sees fit. But you, of all people, don't have that power. However, I believe that's a good idea. I'm gonna run with that match, and I think Chelsea and Deonna should take on the inspiration. No titles on the line, so we don't want any shenanigans going down, and you know having one team have all the belts and running off to Maria and giving them over, and we don't need any of that. So non-title, but to show off, you know, our knockouts who are also champions. But where does that leave you, Tennille? You don't have a match for Under Siege, and neither does Zhao Jia. So I am volunteering you to be her first opponent. You're gonna face Zhao at Under Siege. Good luck. And she pats her on the shoulder and walks away. And Tennille's just like stomps off. Fair, has been embarrassed by you know Gail Kim and by extension Deonna and Chelsea. Segment rating of 32. So we have the BFFs versus the Inspiration, and also Tennille versus Zhao Zia in her first match after debuting at Rebellion, her first match Under Siege. We get Jonathan Gresham versus Mike Bailey. Uh, after last week, Jonathan Gresham has maybe pity party is not the word for it, but again, after that promo last week where he's kind of blamed himself for the death of Ring of Honor, not in the greatest of spirits, and that has to be a part of why he actually suffered a defeat at the hands of Mike Bailey, or rather the feet of Mike Bailey. Uh, Mike Bailey defeating Gresham 1303 with an Ultima weapon. Segment rating of 36. Uh, Bailey. Did he beat someone last week? But basically, his star is on once again on the rise. Maybe towards some sort of future X Division title shots. We'll see. But Gresham, ever since losing the Ring of Honor World Title, the title for that title match against Josh Alexander at Rebellion, has not been doing well. And after the match, we see that what happens. Mike Bailey celebrates his win. He bows and offers a handshake to Gresham, and Gresham just does not accept it. He hangs his head in disappointment and walks off. Unlike Jonathan Gresham, especially someone who upholds the so-called code of honor with a handshake, not like Gresham to not abide by that. So we wonder where Gresham's headspace is at. But meanwhile, Mike Bailey is not going to let that affect him. He's on the rise once again, and he continues celebrating. Segment rating of 34. Um, Taya Valkyrie comes out to the ring. She cuts a promo, and it's actually, well, first she calls Rosemary to the ring, and she cuts a fairly emotional promo. She admits the rumors are true, that she intends to retire soon, and she wanted to go out as a champion, as a AAA Reign of Uranus champion, a belt that means a lot to her, just like the Knockouts title means a lot to Rosemary, and means a lot to her too, as the former longest reigning Knockouts champion. But she wanted to go out as a champion, and she isn't. She stands here defeated, and worse yet, she stands before her one of her greatest friends, but also her greatest rival. And if she's going to go out, she wants to go out in a blaze of glory, and she reminds people, or the crowd, of her and Rosemary's history as rivals. Years ago, the two of them tangled in a Demon's Dance match, which is basically a hardcore match. Um, Rosemary defeated her then, but she lays down the challenge for a rematch of the Demon's Dance match, and she vows if she's going to go out, if she plans on going to Valhalla as a Valkyrie, she's going to go out on her shield, but she's going to go out winning. She's not going to let Rosemary defeat her this time. So she lays down the challenge and walks off. Rosemary kind of accepts it, but is kind of at shock that, her friend would do that. But we have a match. Demon's Dance for Under Siege. Taya Valkyrie versus Rosemary. Segment rating of 38. Storyline is advanced but not gained heat, so it's probably still at the threshold of being hot. All right, and then we get a match where continuation last week. where Eddie Edwards defeated Tyler Bateman. Tyler Bateman of the Gospel of Violence. Um, when Tyler Bateman's interference backfired, we get Eddie Edwards defeating Brody King, but in this case, Brody King intentionally got himself disqualified by using a weapon, a chair, probably most likely, and also Tyler Bateman interfering as well. So the match devolves into mindless violence. Brody King gets disqualified. Eddie Edwards gets the win. Segment rating of 45. And then after the match, with no one really able to save Eddie Edwards, with Davey Richards, his tag team partner, still out with an injury, the Gospel of Violence put attack Brody and Bateman, or Brody and Bateman attack Eddie and attack him. Well, yeah, they attack him. I thought I had this as a table thing, but we'll say he gets put through a table. I think what's been done before, but hell, it's been done again. Brody King, Tyler Bateman, laying out Eddie Edwards with no one around to save him. Segment rating of 38. Then we go backstage where Gail Kim is kind of setting things up for Under Siege, coming off of that segment where she booked Zhao Zia against Tennille and all that. She's confronted by Rosemary. Why am I thinking Rosemary? Maria. Gail Kim is confronted by Maria, and she is holding a stack of papers. And she's like, I assume you've heard my uh announcement for to buy Impact. I have the contracts right here. So she hands them to Gail Kim, and she's like, if you can take that to Anthem, if you can get that to Ed Nordholm, get the proper signatures, and get your signature on there for good measure. Hand over Impact to me. I'm willing to buy, and I expect that paperwork filled out in full at Under Siege. So thanks, bye. And she basically leaves Gail with a handful of papers. Of course, Gail is not happy about this. She does not want to sell Impact to Maria, of all people. So, segment rating of 39. And then backstage, we get a Good Brothers promo. They're talking about, they have the Morrissey machine guns at Under Siege and, blah, blah, blah. They're interrupted by Sam Beal, of all people. And they're just kind of like ragging on him and just like, what do you want, Pipsqueak? And he's like, well, I plan on getting myself into the tag team division. They say if you want to, you know, show what you're worth, you got to go after the big dogs, and you guys are the biggest dogs, so I'm going after you. And before anything can be done, Trey Miguel holds Sam back, and it's basically like, okay, guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And basically pulls Sam back. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you taking on the Impact World Tag Team Champions by yourself? And he's like, I'm not taking them on by myself. You're here with me. And Trey's like, damn it. I'm gonna have to bail you out of a fight or something. And Sam just like, yeah, I guess so. And the Good Brothers are like, hey, you guys stop talking. Are you guys gonna keep talking or what? And before they do anything, the Morrissey machine guns are behind them, and they're like, no, but we are. And they start fighting. Uh, Trey Miguel and Sam Beal are just kind of on the sidelines watching and cheering. Um, the Good Brothers eventually take a powder, and they're like, whoa, whoa, let's just save this for let's just save this for the pay-per-view, right? We got a big match. It's the Good Brothers versus Morrissey Machine Guns. You don't want to ruin that on an Impact. You want to save that for pay per view, right? And they find an excuse to powder out, and the Morrissey machine guns are just, kind of amped up, wanting a fight. Um, and Trey and Sam are kind of stoked to see this happen. So, but unfortunately, that segment lost heat for the storyline. So we'll see. Segment rating of 36. And then we get our main event made last week where Josh Alexander defends the Impact World title against former Impact World Champion, former NWA World Champion Nick Aldis. As a reminder, Nick Aldis took exception of the NWA history being included in the lineage of the Impact World title, and wanted to prove himself as a worthy world champion. We do get over the fact of, well, the announcers put over the fact that one, he does, Josh Alexander does have a title defense at Under Siege against an opponent, that we don't know yet. And that will also make Alexander's third title defense in the matter of 2 weeks. He just had a long, almost 30-minute match against Gresham, highly technical match, um, to win the Ring of Honor World title, retain the Impact World title. Now successfully retaining the world title against Nick Aldis. And then he has another defense in 2 days at Under Siege. Segment rating of 41. And then after the match, Nick Aldis makes his way to the back. Alexander celebrating in the middle of the ring. He raises his Impact World Championship, and all of a sudden, he is late. He turns around right into a big boot from W. Morrissey. W. Morrissey, fresh off his defeat of Jake Something, claimed to be on the way to bigger and better things. And that has been proven now as he stands over the prone body of Josh Alexander and grabs the Impact World Championship and raises it up in the air to end tonight's show and to officially cement himself as the why did I blank right there? As the challenger to Josh Alexander at Under Siege for the world title. So we get Alexander versus W. Morrissey at Under Siege. Alexander's third title defense in 2 weeks, and also against the biggest member of the Impact roster. So, segment rating of 38. We finished the show. Segment rating of 41. We lost popularity in 2 regions, but we did not lose any popularity or whatever due to losing or due to not having hot enough storylines. So, overall rating 41, an improvement over last week. We are getting back to decent numbers. We have enough hot storylines that people, are paying attention. So, uh, a good show. But before we go, we have the card for Under Siege in handy dandy word format. Impact Wrestling presents Under Siege. The Impact World Championship match, Josh Alexander will defend against W. Morrissey. The Impact Tag Team Championships, the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, defend against the winner of the tournament, the Morrissey Machine Guns, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. X Division Championship match, Steve Macklin will defend against Swerve Shane Strickland. a Demon's Dance match, Rosemary versus Taya Valkyrie. Um, maybe possibly Taya Valkyrie's final match in Impact. We'll see if she is able to uh, leave Impact or leave her career on a high note. Ravens, Clockwork Orange, House of Fun, The Learning Tree of Brian Myers, Avery Good, VSK, and Nick Stapp CPA, all on the same page for once versus Raven's Flock of Raven and 3 other people. Who will that be? We'll find out. The Challenge of Champions, the Knockouts champion Deanna Prazzo and the Digital Media champion Chelsea Green versus the Knockouts Tag Team Champions of the Inspiration, Cassie Lee and Jessie McKay. No titles on the line, but a showcase of our championship caliber women. And then speaking of women, we have our newest signing in her debut match, Zhao Zia versus Tennille Dashwood. Will Gail Kim return Maria Kanellis' buyout contract, signed, sealed, and delivered at Under Siege? And will Joe Doring finally appear to address Eric Young's callouts, or will he be stuck in Japan like he's been for the last couple weeks? As far as I know, he should be uh there. He should be available. As when I look at his availability, I thought he was available for tonight. But I read that wrong, but it looks like he's definitely available. Oh my god, I can't talk tonight. Available for Under Siege. So we shall see. And then pre-show matches, we get Roxy, Rachel Ellering, and Quinn McKay versus Madison Rain, Brandy Lauren, and a mystery partner. And then Heath and Rhino versus Raj Singh and Mahabali Shera with Ace Austin at ringside in their attempt to prove their worth to Austin. And that's it. See you here in a week or so for Under Siege, however long it takes me to get there. Shouldn't be too long considering it's only 2 days away in game. So we're done with that. So uh one last look at the car or numbers, whatever. uh I'm sorry. All right. Come back for Under Siege. Thank you.